Hey guys, so if you haven't watched it already, I mentioned in my first video the chicken poblano recipe that I'd be making the cilantro lime rice. So this is the part 2 to that. What it is just like the title says, it's rice with a cilantro lime seasoning. It is so tasty. I can promise you, you're gonna make it over and over again, just like many of my other recipes. So let's get started. Got some oil, and I'm going to add my rice. I'm using a jasmine rice. Basmati rice works really well for this. And I'm going to give this rice a good mix. We want it to be all coated with a little oil. I'm going to add just a bit more, and I'm using a grapeseed oil. It's a very neutral oil that I just discovered that has a pretty good high cooking point. So I really like that, because I know some oils tend to burn after they reach like a certain temperature. So this has worked out for me, and it really doesn't taste sweet or anything like grapes really. I'm going to bring my heat up to a medium, and I'm going to just kind of fry this up a little bit, quote unquote fry, but it's not really frying because if you notice I didn't drench this in oil. We just want it to be lightly coated with a little oil. Your onion, you can really dice it up any way you like as well. Take about this much. Actually I'm going to cut it in half, but it'll be just kind of 2 large chunks, and I'll do the same with this piece and kind of let it saute in my rice. Okay, so there goes my onion. I'm going to saute this all up. And you don't want this to get extremely dark. This is not like the Mexican rice recipe that I made earlier. If you check out some of my videos, I have a red rice recipe. That one's a little different. This one, we're just going to let it saute a tiny bit. So what I did is just kind of let the rice saute for a good 10 to 15 minutes on medium heat. Just make sure you're constantly kind of stirring here and there so it doesn't burn. I'm going to just kind of open up a little gap, and I'm going to add my garlic. So what I just did right now is just kind of cut these garlics in half and kind of let it cook up there in the center. And to this, I'm going to add a little homemade butter just to give it a little extra flavor. And if you haven't checked out my how to make homemade butter video, you might want to check it out because it's pretty cool. It's so simple. It's just a 1 ingredient recipe. And actually I just made this fresh today right after work, so it's still pretty soft. I'm just going to add that in there, just a tiny bit more. And I'll let that garlic cook up with it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually not going to mash that garlic. I'm going to leave it like that. And then when we add the rest of the ingredients, I'm just going to kind of layer it all together. We'll leave it like that at the very end when I'm about to serve it. You'll want to be careful and kind of remove that piece so nobody has a big chunk of garlic. But I like the flavor of it. That it releases as a whole piece versus if it's minced. You don't want it to overpower because this is a cilantro lime rice, so you want the cilantro and the lime to kind of overpower just a tiny bit more. So now we're going to give this all a good mix together. Okay, so I think my rice is ready now. And what I'm going to do is add some chicken bouillon powder. And that's only because I don't have chicken broth. If you have chicken broth, you can add that. Homemade chicken broth is even better. Okay, and now I'm going to bring the heat down and I'm going to add water to this. And make sure your water is not cold. That way it doesn't break up the cooking times. You want the water to be warm or hot. That way the rice doesn't break up in half. It doesn't soften and then just break it in half. You want your grains of rice to be whole. That's why you want to use warm to hot water. I'm not going to add any salt to this, only because the chicken bouillon has plenty of salt. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and chop up that cilantro and get my lime going. So when most of the water has evaporated, I'll be adding that cilantro and that lime. I don't want my cilantro to turn like a dark brown. That's why I added pretty much at the very end when the rice is all finished up. So I'm going to let this rice rise up and soak up all that water for a good 30 to 35 minutes on medium heat. So now I'm going to cover this up and just leave a little gap so the heat and the steam kind of escape a tiny bit. This should be finely chopped like confetti. See the tiny little pieces? And over here I got my freshly squeezed lime juice. Alrighty, we're going to check out the rice, and it looks like it's pretty much done. So your rice doesn't break up. What I do is just slowly to check and see if it's done. All I just do is push down and then up. And then I do that to all three sides. I did it here, here, and then I do it again over here. And that is it. You don't want to stir it. And this rice is actually finished. So now I can add both my lime and my cilantro, and I add it, like I said, I'm going to turn off the heat now. And like I said, I add it last minute because I don't like my cilantro to turn out kind of brown. I still like it to be lively and green. So what I'm going to do is just kind of sprinkle this all over the place. So just going to continue adding my lime. And I added a tiny bit of oil to this, by the way. That's same grapeseed oil. And now I'm going to do this again just once, just to mix it all up. Once on this side, another over here, and then same here. And that's pretty much it, guys. So what I'm going to do is this time I'm not going to cover it up. The heat, like I said, is off. I'm just going to leave it open like this so it can kind of dry out. And that is it, you guys. This is pretty much it. So I'm going to show you guys how I plate it with the chicken poblano and cream that I showed you guys earlier. All right, guys. So I now wrap up this entire video with this little combination that I bring to you. So it's the cilantro lime rice with some, my mouth is watering, with the zucchini / squash and chicken and poblano sauce. I'm going to add a little splash of lime. The rice has little hints, but I feel that all Mexican food tastes just that much better with lime. So the cream and poblano sauce isn't spicy at all. If you notice, I did add 2 serrano peppers just because I like a little kick to it. So the sauce is really creamy, and it's thick, but it's not extremely mushy. And then I've got my cilantro lime rice, which has just a little hint of both that garlic, the lime, and the cilantro, so it's really good. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe down below and give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next installment. Ciao!